front of those private homes all the way up to their porches. So that wasn't always commonly known or understood, that this was our Hawaiian land, and in fact, it's not these private homes that have beachfront property, it's us, the Hawaiians, that have this beachfront property. So that's something that would be discussed at a later meeting, because we do need to deal with, or at least discuss, what do we want to do with this? Do we want this to be a park? You know, something of that nature. So that'll be a future conversation. And then many folks don't realize that the 5 acres behind and adjacent to Camp Faith, that also is Hawaiian homes. In terms of Anahola, I've been statewide. We're one of the last bastions of homesteads where we have ocean, near the ocean property. All of the oceanfront property, for example, in Waimanalo, was DHHL licensed to City and County of Honolulu for the beach park. Makaha, those are all Hawaiian homelands. There's about 80 acres on Oahu. So I think that we are very fortunate, and we should be reminded about what's happening in Maui and Big Island, etc. This is a very large parcel. So that's the maps. If you see this is all ocean. This property line here, and we paid thousands of dollars to do surveys and to do an SMA and to do a setback. This is the high water mark right here. So we went ahead and spent the additional dollars, had the DLNR state surveyor under state law do the survey. Even though we weren't required to, it was very helpful to do it, to understand where these properties are. For those of you that know Anahola Bay area well, in the vegetation line and go out 100 feet, between 80 and 100 feet toward the ocean, that is this property line. It gets much shorter over on this side, maybe 40 feet. But at the longest side, it gets to 100 feet out. So the vegetation line's back here, like this. And most people don't realize that the demarcation mark for private lands facing the ocean or our Hawaiian homelands is the high water mark, not the vegetation line. The law says, and people it's a habit. The law basically says the high water mark most often is the vegetation line. So that's why a lot of people think the vegetation line is the mark, but it's not. So 100 feet on this side, and it comes down to about 40 feet on this side out toward the beach, all Hawaiian homelands. Okay? Do I have any questions about the map? I tried to pick the most basic map possible. So now that we know what we're talking about, we're concerned not so much with, well, the beach park on this side is also Hawaiian homelands. I don't know how many people realize that as well. It was licensed to the County of Kauai. In fact, that license is up in 2014, and they're probably negotiating with the County of Kauai right now for the parcel that's to the right on this side. So you can see with this kind of Hawaiian homelands why our Hawaiian Homestead Association and the beneficiary families and the wait list members like Auntie Alberta would be concerned and be thinking and talking about these lands. Section 4 of our agenda, because we're moving pretty quickly, as we wanted to just lay out the foundation and then start recording Mana'o. A review of the state and county laws is that there's a county ordinance about oceanfront lands, beach lands. I'm so happy DLNR is here. I'm just going to do it the layman's way that I understand it, and if I misspeak, I hope that you'll correct me. But the county ordinance essentially says no driving on the beach except fishermen can drive out, drop, and remove the vehicle. Kind of like Mr. Pa over at
Anini?
The beach on
Anini?
Anini.
Anini.
Yes, Anini. And he does a great job, Puna, he does a great job of making sure that that is enforced. He just goes out there and he lives across right there, and he's been for years doing a great job, just like the uncle in Molokai that is very good as a steward. State law is, there isn't an exception for fishermen. It's just flat out no driving on the beach. So you've got a state law that's no driving on the beach for obvious stewardship issues, but mostly safety issues. I mean, about 15 years ago, there was a wahine that was injured, seriously injured, on our beach in Anahola and was driven over. And her Kane still lives in Anahola. So the county ordinance is you can drive out, drop your stuff, drive back. State law says you can't drive on the beach at all. And then the enforcers, or the normal go-to, or the most knowledgeable people that we, no matter where we live in the state, would be DLNR, and of course DHHL and or the lessees that those lands might be leased to, for example. They have Kuleana land liability. So that is the review of section 4.
Robin, before we go further, can I address the county ordinance real quick?
Absolutely. Please stand so
yeah.
they can hear you.
Can anyone hear me?
Speak loud.
Thank you, I will, Robin. First of all, thanks for having me here. It's an honor to be here in Anahola. I want to go over the section, and first I want to talk about the purpose, and I'm going to specifically talk about the Kauai County Code. It's 22-12.1, and the purpose of this article is to prevent persons from using beaches on the County of Kauai as racetracks for motor vehicles. The use of beaches as racetracks for motor vehicles causes annoying noises and endangers the health, safety, and welfare of persons who desire to use the beaches for picnicking, fishing, camping, or swimming. This article is not meant to prevent people from driving motor vehicles on beaches to transport people or supplies for picnicking, fishing, camping, or swimming. This article is also intended to serve as an interim control until such time that the state DLNR formulates and implements appropriate rules and regulations governing this subject. This ordinance was created as ordinance number 386 and is dated June 9th of 1980. The actual section itself says, no person, now listen closely, no person shall drive any motor vehicle upon any beach of the County of Kauai except to transport persons or supplies for picnicking, fishing, camping, or swimming. Driving a motor vehicle back and forth or racing on a beach shall be considered a prima facie violation of this article. Now,
So that's this. Can we have a copy of that? Will you leave
yeah,
that with us? Thank
definitely.
you.
Now, I spoke to 3 people today. Once I found out I was able to come to the meeting, I talked to Justin Collar of the prosecuting attorney's office. I spoke to Nick Corson, who's the county attorney for KPD, and I also spoke to Lieutenant Rob Gospel, who's the former lieutenant of our traffic division. All 3 of them concur that if a person drives onto the beach, the way the law is set, it's unenforceable, right? The way it's currently written, for somebody to go, if they decide that they want to go swimming and fishing and picnicking, honestly, we cannot enforce the county code. I can't speak about the state, but the way the county code is written, we can't enforce that if they just park and they feel like they want to go swimming or fishing or what have you. Okay, just so everyone knows. Whenever you're dealing with laws, a lot of times it's unambiguous and there's always gray areas. And I think the gray area here is, okay, if a person drives and parks, how long can they stay before before they actually have to leave? And that's kind of where the problem and the gray area is right now. I think as a community, it's important to say, okay, well, what is our intent? Do we know, I mean, bottom line is, let's just talk bluntly and be straight up. When we go to the beach, people like to drink. People like to hang out, have a good time. It's Kauai, it's paradise, you fishing, whatever. People drink and then they start driving. We don't want to have an incident like what happened to the young lady in the past, what happened on the west side. Unfortunately, it happens. So do we want to be in a situation where we say, okay, nobody should be able to drive because we don't want to have this incident, even the possibility of it ever occurring? Or can we say that Anahola as a community, we're gonna really police ourselves, so to speak, and make sure and be responsible that if we do go out there and drive and allow fishing and swimming and you to drive your truck on the beach, can we be responsible enough to not drink, get upset, burn rubber, dig out? That's kind of, to me, where the issue is as far as that.
Thank you.
So at this point, I'll defer over to Bully for the state law. Sure.
Okay. Hi everybody, it's an honor to be here. I got invited by Mr. Teddy Blake. I work kind of closely with him in law issues and stuff. Just a little bit of history. My nickname is Bully, but my real name is Francis. And Bully because I guess I was a bully when I was little. But I'm the branch chief for Kauai, and that name stuck with me. I'm just gonna give you guys the facts about the law, basically. Thank you, Sergeant Green, for doing the county section. So for the state side, it's under unencumbered state lands, and it reads, it's 13-221-26. Okay, the law for the state side is motor vehicles. That's the heading. It says no person shall drive a motor vehicle on the premises except on roads, trails, or tracks designated or provided for vehicular use. No person shall park or leave unattended a motor vehicle which blocks or prohibits entry onto any road, trail, track, or beach access on the premises. So basically this law covers all undeveloped lands. So any questions, since I'm up here, I'll answer you guys' questions if I can. But basically all the beaches on Kauai is under the state. When I first started from KPD, coming over to DLNR, a lot of the beaches it was told to me that it was executive order or given to the county, some of the beaches. But I've learned that all the beaches on Kauai to the high reaches of the high water mark or high washes of the waves is state lands. And the only county beach is Black Pots Beach.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I'm going to read you the definition too. I know you
But
already
can you read that again? What did you say? What's the state law?
The state law is
There's no
13-221.
exceptions, there's no fishing, no...
No, it says no person shall drive a motor vehicle on the premises except on roads, trails, or tracks designated or provided for vehicular use. And I got the section on just a breakdown. It's kind of confusing and maybe kind of lawyer talk, but this is the definition for shoreline, because I know you mentioned shoreline. So in the state section, shoreline means the upper reaches of the wash of the waves, other than storm or seismic. I don't know if I said that right. Seismic waves at the tide during the season of the year in which the highest wash of the waves occurs, usually evidenced by the edge of vegetation growth or the upper limit of debris left by the wash of the waves. So I spoke to the only expert in Hawaii. His name is Andrew Bollinger, and I'm trying to get him to come to Kauai because one of the hot spots is Anahola Beach. I get calls all the time, guys driving on Anahola Beach. So like you mentioned, Robin, the state side butts up to the HHL lands. And so when my guys go down there, there's a question. Are they on private DHHL lands or on state lands? And so I'm wanting to come down and kind of do a survey. I know you guys did one, but for my guys to know and get a clear mind, and so there's no question. If they see a guy on this side, after we do the survey, that is us. If we see it on this side. But I lost my train of thought.
No, you were going to read about the definition of a county park.